Winter is coming. And much like everyone else in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm sure most of you are wondering when you can finally go on that skiing holiday. Well, with regulations changing on a daily basis and most of Europe's major ski resorts holding off opening until next year, it's a little challenging, but not completely impossible to plan your holiday. To help us get valuable insights, today we're speaking to Craig Burton, owner and CEO of Ski Solutions, Britain's largest specialist ski travel agency. They've been arranging ski holidays across Europe and North America over the last 30 years, so they definitely know best what to expect this season. All right, joining us now from London is Craig Burton, owner and CEO of Ski Solutions. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Jean. Nice to be here.
Nice to be here. How are you? So, Craig, can you just give us a quick introduction to Ski Solutions, please?
Yeah, sure thing. So we are UK-based. We're a winter sports specialist, founded in the mid-1980s. We were one of the original ski specialists to be developed in the UK to look after the quite specific needs of skiers and snowboarders in arranging trips for them. We operate as both a tailor-made tour operator and a travel agent. So we've got a retail side to the business and a tour operating side. We've got a team of about 30 or so based in London.
Okay. And do you have a specialty area, or is it in general Europe and North America?
Yeah, so our bias really is towards where Brits tend to travel for skiing. So Europe's our biggest destination. So the kind of core alpine countries, France, Italy, Austria, Switzerland. We do a bit of business into the Nordics as well, Norway and Sweden. And then in normal years, we would also be sending skiers across the pond as well to Canada and the US.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So for you guys have been doing this for over 30 years.
Yeah, so we were formed in the mid-80s, 1985, I believe it was, so 35 years. And really the USP of Ski Solutions is really all around our expertise. I mean, we are all skiers. And it's that knowledge, experience, passion for the product that has set us aside from competitors over this time. You know, our customers come to us because they want proper, detailed experience, knowledge, expertise of exactly what they're going to expect when they go skiing. And you know, we've taken hundreds of thousands away now over that time, and yeah, it's been a tough year, but we've seen it through and are looking forward to hopefully getting some of our clients on the slopes later this winter.
Okay, yeah. I was just thinking over the last 30 years, this year must be one of the challenging and most, I suppose, interesting years that you've experienced in doing this operations. So I was wondering, because the pandemic has cut short the last winter season, what has it been like for the last 8 to 9 months for Ski Solutions?
Well, I think if you ask any travel professional who's been really at any part of the supply chain, it's been the toughest, most miserable year in very many regards. We've faced a crisis that no one could have ever foreseen, and have dealt with it as best we can. Ski was on the leading edge in Europe of the pandemic as it spread and became apparent in the communities, and we had skiers overseas in March. We were about 2/3 of the way through our winter season when we were told by the French authorities, the Austrian authorities and the Italian authorities at the time that we had to close down operations. We had to get our customers home safely. Mm-hmm. We had to then deal with unpicking the bookings that we had left for the winter, dealing with the refund and rebooking obligations came with that. And then starting to figure out what the future would look like and how we'd work towards this winter season. And that's brought with it its own challenges. You know, we all in travel in Europe got somewhat more bullish by the middle of the summer as summer destinations started to open up for travel, and we were certainly at that stage looking into this winter with quite a lot of confidence, as were consumers who were booking.
Yeah,
They were looking forward to the trips ahead.
mm-hmm.
And then as we went into autumn, as the second wave of COVID ran a riot across Europe, we've had to face down the challenges we have now, which are around, you know, postponing many of the early departures that we were hoping to have at the start of a season. You know, the winter season in Europe will not start as normal this year, and we still have some uncertainty as to when we're going to get going.
Yeah. So, you know, some of the destinations are open year round, right? Like they're open even in summer. So did you experience a bit of, you know, a bit of an upsurge in bookings during the summer when people went to those destinations?
Yeah, so the mountains of Europe, the towns, the villages that are ski resorts in the winter are quite often hubs for tourists in the summer who come to not ski, although occasionally they might, up on the high glaciers of Europe, but to bike, to walk, to take wellness retreats and holidays. And those destinations across the Alps generally got going pretty well this summer and ran a normal summer of operations. So the hotels, the lift companies that were using the lift infrastructure to move cyclists and walkers all had a bit of a dry run really this summer for what the winter might be. So and it went very successfully with COVID rates still relatively subdued through the summer. Many of our resorts that we operate to had a good summer of business and were able to put in place their social distancing and COVID management policies this year.
Yeah, like you said, that's a good dry run of what to expect. Of course, it's an entirely different season, but at least it's it's an actual operations and it's like a practice of what it's like going to be in winter. So
that's right.
Yeah, so going back into winter, I imagine there would still be people. There's a lot of demand to still, or a lot of desire anyhow, that to still to want to get away and go on a winter holiday, because there's the appeal of the resorts not being very crowded. So I can imagine that there's still a lot of people who want to go. So are you able to take us what the experience would be like if someone is to go book holiday with Ski Solutions, from booking to, I guess, traveling and being there? What would it be like?
Yeah, you're right in terms of a demand. First of all, we know that there is a phenomenal demand from cool skiers to travel. It's a pursuit that for many of our customers they would prefer to give up their summer holiday than to miss their week on the slopes each winter. So from a demand perspective, we feel very confident that has not changed. Our challenge is in terms of how we try and get people out there safely, and how as a business we plan to make that happen during this crisis where there is a lot of uncertainty. But in terms of the experience booking with Ski Solutions, I mean, again, back to expertise and knowledge. It's the account managers who are at the end of the phone talking to our clients at the moment, helping them plan. A lot of that is around helping customers understand what that experience is going to be like overseas, us giving advice as to when they should book and the type of product that they should book. So there's been a lot of change in the last 12 months around different accommodation types, different styles of holiday are trending at the moment.
Yeah.
Things like self-catering is proving to be very popular because you've got your own space, your own apartment, and control over that environment. We're finding a lot of clients are wanting to drive to the Alps as opposed to taking flights, and that's very possible from the UK. It's a journey many will do this winter. So it starts with us trying to understand what the needs are of the clients, and then working out what the best fitted trip is. In terms of what we expect their experience to be overseas, back to the sort of dry run that the resorts had this summer, we've seen what their social distancing protocols are. Mm-hmm. We're all used to wearing masks now in public spaces. Right. That will be no different in the Alps. When you're on
anyway. Yeah.
Absolutely. When you're in public areas in a hotel, you'll wear a mask. When you sit down and you have your supper in the evening, you'll be enjoying that time in much the way you did pre-COVID. And the experience that skiers will have actually on the mountain skiing, they will wear masks on lifts. That will become normal this winter. But then when they're off the lift, masks will be off and they will be enjoying the fresh mountain air. It's worth bearing in mind for skiers. We're a community that have been used to wearing PPE for some time.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Skiers will usually wear a mask when they're skiing because it's cold, wind off, and skiers' masks will be acceptable as face coverings.
Because you don't need a mask.
No, you will wear whatever sort of buff or scarf that you usually use for skiing, and you're wearing gloves. You've got goggles on, so when you're on the mountain, you'll broadly be wearing what you would usually be wearing anyway. So we are COVID ready as skiers to deal with that.
And in fact, you're even more covered than the normal people in the streets just wearing a mask.
Absolutely right. I mean, the pinch points will be at the lift stations. So resorts will be working hard to make sure that social distancing is adhered to. Mountain access will be capacity controlled in a lot of resorts to make sure that numbers at these pinch points, particularly on peak dates, will be managed safely. But we've got a lot of faith in the expertise of the destinations we're sending clients to around how they will manage that.
I guess this has emphasized more the need for the travel experts, right? Because I think over the last 10 years, people have gotten accustomed to booking their own trips. Some have even questioned, do they still need travel experts or travel consultants? But, now more than ever is when you actually need them.
I think you're absolutely right. And we're seeing that trending very, very strongly. There is, at times when the world is more uncertain, the role of the travel expert in helping guide customers through those buying decisions. They want to be able to pick up a phone and ask those honest, key questions, and they want someone on the other end of that phone to be an expert in that field. And we feel that the role of the expert has been strengthened, not diminished through this.
Yeah, I actually feel personally a bit vindicated for that, because I was also a travel consultant for 5 years. And, the frustration back then was there was a time when people felt they're their own travel agency. And there really was a time when travel consultants weren't needed as much. And then people turned to influencers for this. And, it's different. You really can't talk to an influencer and ask them what it's really like. Whereas you call someone, talk to a travel expert. They're not an influencer. They're just a normal person who's been there, and they really know what it's like without the glitz and glam of the Instagram photos.
I completely agree. And you can't beat that first-hand knowledge and experience. Even in normal times before COVID, the reason for being with us was that customers could ask us those questions. How far is that hotel really from the slopes?
Yeah.
And that really matters when you're a family with 3 children and you're carrying their skis and poles and goggles and everything like that.
And a pram.
Yeah, you've got it. So it was already, in ski in particular, because it is quite a complex product, more so than your sort of fly and flop beach, there was already a role for the expert, but that's just been doubled down now.
Yeah.
Because with COVID, the rules, the regulations, what's open, what's not open, what can I do, what can I not do, it's changing every day. You can't possibly hope to keep on top of that.
Right.
As a consumer, but it's our job to do that.
Yes.
And that's why people come to us.
That's very good. And, going back to the experience, Craig, I suppose one of the experiences that would have changed very much would be Apres Key. What can people expect now with, I suppose, many restaurants and places maybe half of them would be open at this time?
Look, it's going to be different. That's what we know. So some of our alpine destinations, particularly the Austrian resorts, have become famous for what is quite a lively after party following skiing, the Apres Key. So I think we can say with some certainty that some of the craziness that you sometimes see in these bars and clubs will not be seen this winter. It will be back. But that's not to say there won't be Apres Ski. It will be more subdued. Yeah. It will be quieter. It will be led by table service, as opposed to milling around in the bar. Yeah. We would expect it to, particularly for the second half of the season, be more focused outdoors. So you'll be there as the evenings warm up. There will be a chance to eat, to drink, to socialize, to enjoy live music. You'll be able to do all of those things, but in a safe, COVID secure way. So it will be different, but it will still exist.
Yeah. And I also imagine, even without the usual, Apres Ski scenario, I think being able to just get out, that in itself, people will just be happy with that, with being outdoors and just being able to ski. They'll just be completely happy with that, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the last 12 months not 12 months, 9 months or so, where we've all at times lost some of our freedoms. The ability to be able to get back on to the slopes, to be in the mountain air, to have the freedom to move, that feeling of the wind flowing through your hair, and for skiers it's intoxicating. It has an amazing, I think, from a sort of mental well-being and mental health perspective.
Absolutely, yeah.
This has been a tough time. And I think there will be many who will welcome the opportunity to get out onto the mountain, into that fresh air.
Yeah, because it's one thing to be held back from doing the thing that you love to do, or let alone just being outdoors, and also the added stress that this year has brought. I can imagine how it's so therapeutic to just go down the slopes. That's therapy in itself. Absolutely.
And it's our job to help make that happen when we can, in a safe way. And we remain confident, like I said, that whilst we know the start of the season will be compromised, we do believe that the direction of travel now, in terms of this battle we are fighting against COVID, is generally positive, and Western Europe will slowly start to open up, and we will hopefully have our opportunity this winter.
And there's the promise of the vaccines coming soon too. So let's all hope that's going to change things. So speaking of changes, Craig, the coming year is bringing us a lot of changes, especially for ski operators like yourself. There's the changing regulations for COVID rules, and I guess the biggest one for the UK is that the transition period of Brexit is about to end. What can you see? What can you foresee will happen over the next 3 months in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, we still don't have that final Brexit deal as we talk here at the moment, but we hope that will come. I think from our perspective, there will be some changes, but they will be fairly nuanced in the short term. We all know and are talking to our clients about the necessity to make sure they're properly insured, because the European health card will not be valid in the new year. But planes are going to fly, COVID dependent, and your experience on a ski holiday will feel much as it did before. Mm-hmm. I think what Brexit has brought from a ski perspective are some structural changes in terms of the type of holidays you're likely to experience in the longer term. Right. So there's a phenomenon amongst Brits, and I know we're talking to an international audience here, but there is a product that Britons have enjoyed for many decades called the catered chalet holiday, which is where they will stay with a party of friends very often, or sometimes folk they don't even know, in a chalet in the Alps that will be catered for by a British tour operating company. Mm-hmm. With British reps and chalet girls and boys who look after them. Unfortunately, that freedom of movement across borders has come into question longer term. The costs of operating that model have increased considerably, and that's one thing as skiers we are learning to adjust to. That there will be less catered chalet products available this season and going forward. And the price for those will adjust upwards as well to accommodate the increased operating costs there. So we'll see some product changes there, I think, which will, for skiers, will probably be more significant than whatever comes from Brexit.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Directly.
Right. So just getting ready for the year ahead. And just the last one, Craig, are there any insights or realizations that you have that this year has given you? It doesn't have to be related to skiing, just life in general. Oh gosh, that's a great question, isn't it? I mean, from a business perspective, I think it's focused everyone, founders, owners, CEOs of businesses, decision makers into, really going back to basics, questioning and examining the business model that you're operating to, and fundamentally taking you back to the strategy drawing board to try and figure out what the long-term direction of travel is. I think it's asked a lot of questions of us, and will continue to ask very many more. I think it's shown us that communication is everything, whether that be with our customers or our teams. Mm-hmm. We've tried at Ski Solutions to over communicate, particularly in terms of trying to help our customers, our clients, figure out what the future looks like and what their way is through this. And I think that lesson in talking more, not less, has been an important one for us. And I think, finally, personally, I think you've got to be thankful for some of the benefits that COVID has brought. Now, there's not been many for us in travel businesses, but personally, the ability to be able to see quite a lot more of my little boy each day, by virtue of the fact I've been working from home, has been a real treat. Yeah. And we'll look back favourably on those experiences. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. And speaking of, as you said, communication is really big this year. I'd just like to thank you for communicating to us what people can expect this year. I'm sure there's so many who are curious what it's going to be like, for this season. And, thank you for letting us know what to expect, when one wants to ski this year, and for your insights as well.
My absolute pleasure, Jean. Let's hope we can all strap our skis on some stage later this winter. And thanks for having me today.
Yeah. Thank you too.
Thanks, Jean.